Welcome to Real Talk for Women of Faith, brought to you by Inner City Women of Faith. I am your host. I'm Rosette McGarry Hawkins and
Nicole Rivas.
Hello, everyone. Thank you again for joining us for our show. Today, we are continuing our Black Love series, and we are talking about abuse. We are entitling this part of our series, Help, I'm in an Abusive Relationship. We know this is a sensitive topic, and we feel like there's no one better can help us with this topic than Dwania Hall. Dwania?
Hey, ladies.
Hi, Dwania. Before Dwania takes over, let me introduce to our audience our other special guest, which is Nia Grace. So if our audience sees her popping in and out, y'all know it's COVID-19. Everybody's at home. So we have an extra guest with us, Nia Grace. Every once in a while, you'll see her head pop up. And then now, Dwania, take it away.
Hello, everybody. I'm so glad to be here to be able to share on this particular topic. I am a survivor of domestic violence, and I've experienced different forms of domestic violence. For some people that may not know, a lot of people think still even today that it's just physical, one person hitting another, and it's not. I've experienced physical, emotional, psychological, financial, entrapment, and isolation. Mm-hmm. And what I want to explain about isolation, with that particular thing, isolation, an abuser will do everything that they can to keep you away from other people. And the reason behind this is the influence of other people will minimize the control that the abuser needs to have over you. And isolation can look like your man always making excuses to not be around your family. Anybody experience that? Or it can also look like him starting arguments with you every time you're about to go hang out with your girls. I'm talking about right when you putting your little last touches of makeup or that last little lash on, straightening right, he's starting an argument out of nowhere. And the goal is to get you so upset that you end up staying home and it seems like it was your choice. Isolation is dangerous. Make no mistake about it. It is dangerous because when you are isolated by your mate, it can cause a breakdown in your other relationships, and you will not have anybody to call when everything gets bad. So it's very important to be able to identify when you're being isolated.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to back you up a little bit, Dwania, because I want our audience, because you gave them a little bit. You told them that you've experienced it all. So anyone who's listening to us and you're experiencing any aspect of it, I want you to look at this beautiful woman sitting in front of you, strong and powerful and being made whole before God, because being whole is a journey, right?
Yes, it is.
And I want you to stay here and not let shame, embarrassment, looking at her and thinking, oh, but she's together, she's not me. No, I don't want you to feel any of that. I want you to know this is what God can do. So you stay here. And I'm going to slow you down, Dwania, because they're going to look at this package now and they're going to be like, oh, that's not me. No, I want you to back up and I want you to give them some details of your journey. And I'm not going to interrupt you. I'm going to let you testify and give them some details because they need to know how serious it got for you.
Well, to do that, let me see. I'll try to give like some examples in between each thing that I named. And in that, you can kind of just do a quick assessment yourself. Is that something you've experienced? Is that something that you've seen happen to someone you know, just so you can be able to identify what's going on around you? So physical, that's the common one that everybody notices and or thinks domestic violence is. And for me, physical included being punched, being choked, being held over a balcony while being threatened, threatening that they would push me over it. Let's see what else. Slapped. Um, so those are just a few things that have happened as far as physical, being somebody putting hands on you, which is never okay. That's Please make that clear. Never okay. Emotional. Abuse will take an emotional toll on you when you have some, and psychological, those kind of teeter together. Having someone who you believed loved you or cared for you deeply to do any of the things I said, slap you, choke you, punch you, kick you. I've known women who've been kicked while they were pregnant, kicked directly in the stomach, all those type of things. And then they come back later with I'm sorry, or a single rose, or even, well, if you didn't do this, I wouldn't have had to do that to you. All these type of things will begin to wear on you emotionally and psychologically, where you just begin to question everything about yourself. And you begin to put the weight of all of the violence in the relationship on yourself. And that's really heavier. That part right there takes a lot more um, to get past in the healing process than even the physical. God made our bodies amazing where, you'll see wounds will just heal up, but that emotional and that psychological, if you find yourself in relationships, even if there's not physical violence, where someone is just being very mean, very disrespectful, very degrading, and then they turn around and then they're sweet now. And it just keeps going around, uh, degrading, then sweet, degrading, then sweet. All that flip flopping messes with you. And then financial. A lot of people do not have any clue that this is part of domestic violence. I have been in a situation where the man took every single amount of money out of the house. I wasn't working at the time, and they were. And when they left to go to work, they would take everything. I'm talking about down to the penny. Do you hear me? People keep change in a jar or in some container. He made sure there was not a penny in the house. That is a way also to control you in an abusive relationship. And then, did somebody ask me a question?
Yeah, I said to isolate you.
Yes, isolation. And one thing that kind of goes in with that, like entrapment. A lot of people don't know what entrapment is. I did experience that. Entrapment is, and this is my situation I experienced, when the person that you're with is refusing to let you leave, period. Like it gets serious. They may take the car keys, they may unplug the phone or take your cell phone or lock you in the room, whatever, any of those type of things where they're not letting you have the freedom to leave. That is called entrapment. A law enforcement officer had to let me know that. I didn't know it was a name for it. So if anybody's doing that to you, that is a form of abuse. It's called entrapment. And then the isolation. As I said, isolation can seem subtle because a lot of people feel like it just means they want to spend a lot of time with me. They just want me all to themselves. But it's not that simple. It is a means of control. I experienced the things that I explained before about isolation. A person always making excuses when my family had a barbecue or something, or if they did go, it was always a quick rush off. We got to leave. They're trying to avoid people asking them questions about themselves. They're trying to avoid people who are trying to get to know them at family gatherings. All of these kind of things are parts of isolation. You got to watch out for these things. Arguing with you when you want to hang with friends, all of those kind of things are forms of isolation. And the goal of isolation is to keep control over you. Like I said before, this is very important to remember. Your abuser will try to isolate you because the influence of other people will minimize the control that they need to have over you, whether that control is physical or emotional or psychological or financial. If you get around other people, you be around your family or friends or people that love you, and they start to notice things about your man that are not right, they're going to speak on it. And that's going to mess up his control. That's going to mess up his ability to keep you confined, to abuse you. So that is the point of isolation. So you got to be very, very careful if you see any amount of someone who does not want you around other people, like just you and them, and that's it, no one else, because you cannot afford to be isolated. You cannot afford to. You need to be out in the open. You need to let people know who you dating. You need to look. I'm very grown, but I'm gonna tell you right now. I go somewhere with somebody. I'm sending somebody a message and let them know. Okay, I'm with this person, or me and my man. This is where we went. You need to do these type of things because you never know, somebody trying to take you away far on trips really far away. Or this didn't happen to me, but this has happened to a lot of women. A man who wants to move you way far away, and I'm not talking about for a business opportunity, just to keep you away from everybody. You better let people know where you are at. I even tell that to my teenage daughter when she goes out with friends. I tell her, send me a picture of the license plate. I need something. I need to know who you with, where you at. I need a way to be able to find you in case something happens. So I need everybody to hear me clear on this. It don't matter if we grown, we got to look out for each other. Let somebody know when you're going out with someone, or especially someone who seems like they're doing these things that I just mentioned that can be isolating. Let somebody know. Send a picture of them. Send a picture of their license plate. Tell somebody their name, their information. Let people know so we can look out for each other and keep each other from being isolated in those ways.
I wanted to pop in because what struck me, and sorry, when I interrupted earlier, what I was saying when you said about the money, right? Taking the money, what I was saying is that reminded me of what you had said at the beginning about isolation. It's just another form of isolation because if
Yeah.
you don't have any money, you can't go anyplace. You can't move.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the
Yeah.
entrapment is another form. So it's sounding to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's sounding to me like isolation goes in degrees. So it
Yeah.
might start off as, oh, baby, can we just be together? And then that's it, right?
Mhm.
And then so that's a mild kind, and you might feel a little weird about that, but you're like, oh yes, he loves me.
Mhm.
But then the isolation escalates. So
Yeah.
take the money, keep you in the house,
Yes.
move you far away. It continually isolates to keep control of.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's important for people to know isolation can have different degrees, or even to say it this way, that it can be done in different ways. Like if you're
Mm,
a woman that you have your own money, you're a boss, you got your own money, he can't mess with your money, but that keeping you away from your family and your friends, that's where he'll go then. Since he can't mess with your money, then he's going to go that way. So
Another
it can happen in
thing that
different ways.
I've noticed with women, I've never been in a physically abusive relationship, but I have noticed this pattern in a couple of my relationships, which is I make you feel bad about yourself. So, for instance, we're out with his friends and he says, well, you talk too much, or everybody thought that you were strange, or
Mm,
all this. And it seems like very subtle kind of
yeah.
statements. But what he's doing is so that even when you're in company, you do this, you turn
Yes.
inward
Yeah.
because he has
Yeah.
made you feel uncomfortable around other people.
Yes.
And that's
Yeah.
one that women miss a lot of times. Oh, people thought that your jokes were stupid, or people thought you talk too much. And he
Yeah.
just says it in passing.
Mhm.
And the next time you're in that group, you're like, oh, I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah, that falls under the psychological abuse.
Mm-hmm.
That falls under that. And then what can happen in those situations is that you end up isolating yourself,
Mm-hmm.
because now you don't even feel confident or comfortable being around these people. And he's intentional with making those kind of statements.
Yes.
Someone that would make those kind of statements to make you question yourself or feel bad, or make it seem like, well, it's not me, this is what other people said, they don't like you, or or they feel this
Correct.
way about you. So now he's gotten into your head. And so now you just, like you said, either you're sitting amongst people like you're in a shell, or you just don't even want to go out at all because you all these things are going through your head that he put there. That's the psychological abuse.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I have a question. When you're in well, for you specifically, when you were in any abusive relationship, did you realize it? Did you did you cognitively say, you know what, this is abusive? Like, did you realize it?
Um, Early on, I would say no. In every relationship different. I was in one relationship where no, absolutely not. There was no kind of signs. Like literally everyone was shocked. And we'll probably get into that one a little more later. But one relationship where I did started to feel like, yeah, something's not right here. The key to it for me was when I didn't feel safe anymore. That's one thing I have learned about myself. Safety is everything to me, and safety looks different for different people. That can mean different things. Safety could even mean, that you make sure that the lights don't get cut off. But I didn't feel safe around this guy anymore as I did in the beginning. And I'm like, yeah, it became a type of thing where I'm just feeling like I'm walking on eggshells all the time, trying to make you happy or trying to make sure you don't get mad or you don't pop off or, I never know what side of the bed you waking up on, what kind of moods you gonna be in today, and you might pop off. So when you're around somebody, when it gets to that point in the relationship or that starts to show in the relationship, for me, I didn't feel safe anymore because I'm like, yeah, I need to know what I'm in. I don't like that. People can have a bad day, but when it becomes this habit of I never know what's going to happen with you, then I don't feel safe, and that's a problem. Even if you don't put your hands on me, now that's the emotional part that happens in abuse because I'm not settled. I'm walking around completely unsettled all the time. So
Mm.
that's one way it started for me.
Yeah. I guess
So
you,
then,
oh no, go ahead, Marcy.
okay, just really quickly. So then you're saying that you once you start not feeling safe was when you realized this is an abusive relationship. Because I just wonder, like, I think
Yeah,
women
yeah,
struggle with that. Like they struggle.
yeah,
It's, he's not hitting me. I don't, I'm
yes,
not really, so you're saying if you
yes.
don't feel safe, then that's a pretty much a clear indicator that there's some abuse. There's some level of abuse happening in a
It could
relationship.
be that I will say this that's for me because safety is it's not negotiable for me at this point in my life. So safety is key. I have been in a relationship where there was absolutely no physical abuse. None. Never putting hand like that's where they're not gonna go. But as I pointed out, all those other ways that abuse happens, it can be happening and it's not physical. And that's where people always make that mistake. Even if it's not someone putting their hands on you, if you do not feel safe, you should completely feel safe
So you
with
should feel safe
whoever
financially.
whoever you are with. You should feel safe. If you don't, this could potentially be an abusive relationship. But let me say this, even if it's not abusive, it may not be a healthy relationship. That's what I think people need to get into even more. Stop getting so stuck on, well, as long as they don't put their hands on me. No, because it still does not mean that it's a healthy situation.
Mm.
Is it a healthy situation? Are you safe emotionally? Are you safe psychologically? Are you safe? Are you covered financially? Listen, if the electricity man comes and says, I got to shut off your electricity today because the bill wasn't paid, you have now put me in an unsafe situation. That's me. Some people may not care, but that's me. If you're portraying yourself as I'm taking care of the bills, and then somebody comes and shuts the lights off on me and the kids, now I'm not safe in that area of finances. Now I can't trust you in that way. These are things that you cannot just bypass and overlook. is this healthy for you? So for me, my way to measure the health of a relationship, and it doesn't matter what it is, the relationship, whether it's a friendship relationship, a family relationship, a business relationship, whatever kind of relationship or intimate relationship, do I feel safe with this person?
Mhm.
That's very key to me. Do
And
I feel safe?
yeah, thank you, Dwayne. And I think your explanation is beautiful because um, there it's on a spectrum, right? So it's the healthy relationship spectrum. It's not this is healthy and this is not. It's a
Right.
spectrum. And so on this end of the spectrum, on the way end is abuse.
Yeah.
And physical life threatening abuse on the way in.
Yeah.
But you can come along this spectrum and you have the emotional, you have the financial, you have someone who is insecure. So, in order to be with you, they need to make you feel less than in their own heads and in yours. So they're never hitting you. They might not be calling you names, but they're always just subtly taking you down a peg,
Totally.
just
Yeah.
subtly taking you down a peg.
Yeah.
So, I would say what you're saying is find that measure for you of what is health,
Yes.
right? Find
Yes.
that measure for you of what is health. And for you, Dwayne, health is, do I feel safe?
Yes.
Do I feel safe emotionally with you? Do I feel safe financially with you? And do I feel safe physically with you?
Absolutely. Because there's a certain way that I will flow. I mean, I am who I am at the core, but there's a certain way that we can flow when we feel safe emotionally with somebody. Oh my gosh, there's just a certain freedom that you can have around somebody and completely be yourself, as opposed to when you're around somebody who is subtly degrading you and just chopping you down little by little.
Mm.
There's a difference. You should feel safe with whoever you are in a relationship. And I want to stress that to everyone who is listening. I don't care what kind of a relationship it is, whether it's with a man, it's intimate, it's friendship, it's business, it's family. You should feel safe. You have to identify what safe means for you, but you should feel safe around that person because that's what allows you to just be yourself, to be free, and to really give and to receive fully in any relationship. You have to be able to be safe.
And I think I'm hearing you say Dwayne too, and you tell me if I'm wrong. I have a sense that when you found yourself in these abusive relationships, there were probably a lot of factors, but I'm
Mhm.
going to guess one of the factors is not trusting yourself to define what you had the right to. So
Yeah,
I'm sure you didn't feel safe
yeah,
then, but you didn't trust that feeling.
yeah,
And now at this point, you're saying, I have come to the point where one, I know I have a right to feel that.
yeah,
I don't have to apologize for it. I don't have to explain it. I have a right to want to be safe. And
yeah.
two, what I hear you're saying is I now trust myself.
Hmm.
When I don't feel safe, I don't tell myself I'm crazy. I
Right.
say, I don't feel safe. Something needs to change.
Yeah, I say what I like to help people have the freedom to say, I am not okay. Mm-mm. No, this right here, no, no, thank you. No, no.
And
No is
that's
such a
okay.
beautiful word. No, thank you. Because as you said, I didn't trust because I didn't really know exactly what it was that I needed to have. Like specifically, I couldn't explain it. Like how I'm able to sit here and explain this to you now is because I know I've identified it. I have that self awareness. I've learned myself enough to know, you know what, safety matters to me. You
Mm.
know what, peace matters to me. And those are not optional. I've identified that so I can say that and I can stand on that, and I can trust myself to know, yeah, no, I'm not tripping, because my safety, what makes me feel safe, is not about the other person. Somebody needs to hear that today. What makes me feel safe is not about the other person. It's me. This is not for them to define. It is for me to define, for me to learn and understand about myself and not compromise on it. Period. That's it. Period. So knowing that about you, knowing yourself in that way will help you identify what it is that you absolutely must have to be okay in a relationship, to be good, to feel safe, to trust. And once you've identified that, don't compromise.
That is a beautiful way to, I'm going to wrap it up if Marzette is okay with that. Because we're coming to the end of our time, but we're coming to the end of a time for this segment, but we're not at the end of this discussion, because we're going to be rolling the tape for a second segment, and we're going to continue this discussion. And any women who are watching me, whether you're in a physically abusive relationship, financially abusive relationship, whether you are in an emotionally or psychologically abusive relationship, or whether you're in entrapment, you feel like you can't get out, or you're just unhealthy. You're not, this relationship is not feeding your divine nature. Whatever it is, I want you to hear us. And I want you to hear Dwayna, which says, trust yourself. Trust that you have a right to want what you want, and you have God in you speaking to your heart, telling you this is not where you're supposed to be. Trust it. Trust it. And then come back and listen to the next show so we can talk about that some more. So our community can lift you up and tell you, oh no, baby, you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that. And get Dwayna's book. Get Dwayna's book right there. Women Inspiring Nations. Here, her testimony gets even deeper than the little part she shared with you, right? And you might not think that's little, and I'm telling you, it gets way deeper. So make sure you get that book. Make sure that you are empowered by your community. And you know who else isolates you? You know the major abuser that isolates you? The devil. He's always trying to isolate you in shame and in guilt. He's trying to keep you from speaking your truth to others so he can control you. So we're stopping that today. We're stopping Satan, the master abuser, in his steps by forming community and sharing with one another. Thank you for joining us. You can always find Inner City Women of Faith at innercitywomenoffaith.org or on YouTube at Inner City Women of Faith. Same handle on Facebook and Instagram. We love you. We hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.